Well, guys, season 1 of Titans has finally come to an end. There's been some highs, some lows, some great moments in between. And today, we're going to talk about the season that was season 1 of Titans. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Once again, I'm Robert Storms. If you're finding me for the very first time, be sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button. So Titans season 1, like I mentioned, there's been some good moments, some bad moments. We're going to talk about them all here. Some of my favorite moments, some things I think they need to improve on in season 2, and what exactly happened in the finale with the end credit scene. Well, guys, so let's start with some of the good stuff that I liked about Titans, because I do think there was a lot of really cool moments and great concepts in the overall season of season 1 of Titans. I definitely liked all the characters. Despite what the characters might have looked like, I think everybody did a really good job acting their parts, and I really liked every character in the show. And that really surprised me, because I was really, in the first couple episodes, I really did not like what I was seeing. But by the last episode of season 1, I really started enjoying everybody's character, including, Hank, who I really did not like. He played Hawk. I really didn't care for his character when he was first introduced early on in the season. But later on, they did the whole Hawk and Dove origin story, which I really ended up enjoying his character and his portrayal of Hawk. And I really ended up liking more of the concept of Hawk and Dove. One of my favorite episodes of this season was the one where they introduced the Doom Patrol, which I thought was just a really fun, good episode. Plus, we had other great moments throughout the season of when the Titans first got together. They started working out their powers, seeing what each other can do. But I have to say, I think the best part of season 1 of Titans is Dick Grayson, because this whole season is basically his character journey of how he really trying to get out of the shadow of Batman, how he perceives Batman, and really his character development and what we all assume will eventually be him becoming Nightwing. So if you look at season 1 of Titans, yes, it's about the Titans coming together, and there's an overall story arc for season 1, but I really see it as an 11 episode character piece for Dick Grayson. We learned so much of his backstory and so much of him as a character and how he kind of growing into his own separate thing away from what Batman is. He had some great moments with Jason Todd, which I thought was a really fun episode. He also had great moments with Hawk and Dove, Starfire. So there was a lot of good moments with Dick Grayson, including the season finale, which I thought was actually a pretty decent season finale. I kind of wanted more out of it, but I really wanted them to kind of focus on the main story. But as a standalone episode, what we got for the season's finale was actually really fantastic, seeing how what would happen if Batman just kind of went off the hinges and just decided just to kill all of his villains. And I really like the concept and the character piece of that, and Dick Grayson coming to terms and trying to stop Batman. But overall, I think season 1 was a season of great moments. Not necessarily a good, cohesive story, but a series of great moments, whether it's the Hawk and Dove origin story, or that Batman kills his villains season finale, or the Doom Patrol episode. There's like so many great moments in season 1 that it really kind of takes away from the overall story arc, which I think a season should be. So with that said, let's get into some of my negatives, because by far my biggest negative of season 1 is story structure. Now, Jeff Johns helped write and produce this season, and you can kind of tell he never wrote for television before, because by the end of the season, your season finale, you kind of want to tie up all loose ends. And I feel like Titans really didn't give us any resolution to anything that they were setting up throughout the season. By the end of the season, we should at least have some kind of resolution with, Raven and her father, and that should be the guy they're trying to stop. It's okay to leave your season on a cliffhanger, but you have to answer some of the questions, and there's so many questions that this season, asked of us. It really didn't answer anything. Like, there was a moment in the Hawk and Dove origin story, which was like episode 9 or 10, and at the end, Dove comes out of her coma and says, we got to find Jason Todd. That's never touched upon again in this season. We see that Dick Grayson goes into the house to try to save Raven. Now he's under the spell of Raven's father, but it's kind of left like, what's going on? There was never any real resolution to the season. It was just kind of episodes and story beats, you know what I mean? It's like, well, we're going to tell this story, and we're going to tell this story. I like the Hawk and Dove origin story, but in hindsight, did it really necessarily have any impact on the story that they were trying to tell? And when you're doing a TV show and you have a season, you want to have a point A to point B story. You want to know what you're setting up and what you're going to finish up and wrap up by the end of the season. You want to get that whole narrative done, and if you don't get everything tied up, that's cool if you have a second season, because you want to leave people on a cliffhanger to come back to the next season. But at the same time, you want to finish one story arc, especially with the end credit scene of the season finale, which I think is a huge OMG moment when we find out that they're going to introduce Connor Kent, Superboy himself, in season 2, which is amazing. I'm a huge Superboy fan, love Connor Kent, love him in Young Justice, just can't wait for that. But I kind of wish they would have tied things up with Raven and her family so we can focus more on that and introduce other villains in season 2. So that's my biggest concern out of the entire season. I loved a lot of what they did. Costume design wasn't always the best, but that's a minor nitpick that they can fix in season 2. But the real problem is the narrative of everything was just kind of all over the place. It's okay to have a Doom Patrol and a Hawk Dove standalone episode and a episode with Batman going around just killing people randomly. That stuff is cool and it's great, but let's make sure that it fits into the narrative. This isn't a 22 episode CW show where you have so many filler episodes you can explore and experiment with these different types of episodes. You have 11 episodes. You need to make sure that you're tying up loose ends and then get people to want to come back next season. That's the biggest thing. You know your hardcore fans are going to come back. I'm going to come back. But for the average person who might be watching this, there's no resolution at the end of the season. And I think that's the biggest hiccup, if anything. So I definitely think Jeff Johns kind of need to work on that, especially if he's going to do more television stuff on the app. But overall, season 1 Titans, I think it had its highs, its lows. Overall, I think it's a pretty good first season. I want to see where it goes now, but I want to know what you guys think. How did you feel about Titans season 1? Do you have any issues like I do? Did you overall just plain enjoy it? Be sure to leave your comments in the comment box below. And until next time, as always, I'm Robert Storms, and that's my opinion.